Hey, I'm JayTheDevGuy, and yes, seriously, if you can solve these math problems, you're ready to learn tech art for video games. And these aren't trick questions, by the way. The only clickbait here is that this actually isn't just for making video games. These equations also apply to 3D animation, 2D drawing programs, video editing, really any kind of computer graphics. Use these basic equations as the foundation to do some seriously cool stuff. Let me show you. The fun comes from using these equations on a texture. Now, we all know that a texture is just a bunch of pixels, right? Like each pixel contains one color, and when you mash a bunch of pixels together, you get a pretty picture. But what you need to understand right now is that to a computer, these pixels aren't colors, they're numbers. And this may not be surprising, because computers and programming is all just numbers under the hood, right? And that's true. But I don't want you to just know that pixels are numbers. I want you to see that pixels are numbers. So we'll start with just this basic black and white texture. Now in this example, a black pixel represents a 0, and a white pixel represents a 1. And I should say that we're actually going to cap all values in between 0 and 1 for this example, so no 2s, no 3s, no negative numbers, nothing like that. All of the values of our texture are going to be capped in between 0 and 1, so just keep that in mind. Anyway, let's see what happens if we say multiply this entire texture by 0. Let me do that now. Let's multiply by a value of 0, plug it in, and what happens? The whole thing turns black. And if you unpack the math, it totally makes sense why. So what we did was we multiplied this pixel by 0, and what does that result in? Well, 0 times 0 is 0, right? So this pixel is now black. And we also multiplied this 1 pixel by 0, and what happens when it's 1 times 0? It's just 0, right? Anything times 0 is 0, so it totally makes sense why every single value here suddenly turned to 0 when we did the math. But again, we're not doing anything more complicated than the most basic multiplication imaginable, and it's just as straightforward when you do addition. Let me show you. But first, a word from this video's sponsor, Skillshare. I've recently been trying to expand my skills with node-based graphics tools like Blender and Unreal Engine, and Skillshare has given me tons of classes to binge. Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives with thousands of classes to offer, which is great because anyone who's tried to learn something as complicated as game development or 3D art knows how many skills are necessary to make anything in those fields. Skillshare offers many helpful classes such as design, art and illustration, animation in 3D, and much more. For anyone looking to learn more about what I talk about in this video, I can't recommend Southern Shoddy 3D's Your First Day in Blender 3D course enough. It'll get you comfortable with Blender so you can dive into the cooler stuff that I talk about today. This month, Skillshare is focusing on the gratitude that learning can bring, which is perfect because I'm always yapping about how being part of a creative community can boost your artistic growth. Skillshare itself is a great place to find enthusiasts eager to learn from professionals eager to teach. The first 500 people to join using my link in the description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare, so check that out if you're looking to dive deeper into everything I'm talking about today, and thanks again for Skillshare for supporting this quaint little channel of mine. Back to the video. So now instead of multiplying by 0, let's instead add 1, and what happens? Let's unpack. So again, this original value, it was a 0, we add 1, now all of a sudden, the result is 1, so the pixel's white, right? This original value was 1, we're going to add 1, again, we're capping our values in between 0 and 1, so now, the pixel's just also 1, right? The entire thing is overwritten by 1s now, because we've added 1 and capped at 1, so now the whole pixel is white. Now, I know these two examples aren't particularly exciting on their own, but where things get really cool is instead of multiplying or adding an entire texture by one value, we multiply or add textures to other textures. Let me show you. So now, instead of just applying the same value to this entire smiley face, we're going to multiply this texture by this texture, and let me show you what happens. I'm gonna plug it in, and did that make sense? Let me break it down. So again, this original pixel, its value was 0. We've multiplied it by 1. What's 0 times 1? It's just 0, right? Now going back here, this original value was 1. We multiplied it by 1. And yeah, if you can handle 1 by 1, sure enough, the result is 1, right? In fact, anything multiplied by 1 is just going to be itself, right? Anything multiplied by 1, the result is itself. So it's really not surprising that the entire left half of this texture stayed exactly the same, right? Likewise, this entire half of the texture is 0, and when you multiply anything by 0, the result is 0, right? So we had a 1 here, we multiplied it by 0, sure enough, the result is 0. We had a 0 here, we multiplied it by 0, the result was 0, right? So I know that this result can seem a little erratic and unpredictable when you're brand new and you're just sort of plugging and playing math nodes and seeing what happens, but if you understand the very, very basic math behind what you're doing here, it can make these operations make a lot of sense. All of this simple math applies to values in between 0 and 1, by the way. So in this example, we're taking this smiley face, but we're multiplying it by this texture, which is a gradually fading grayscale. So let's just break it down. This pixel is a 0, and sure, we're multiplying it by 0.1 over here, but 0 times 0.1, just like anything else, results in a 0, so the general shape of our smiley face remains. But when we take the 1 values of our original smiley face, we multiply that by our grayscale, in this case 0.1, and now the smiley face is fading away, just like the texture that we've multiplied it by. And overlaying grayscale effects like this is extremely common for computer graphics and can scale up to really, really cool results. I used Blender to record all these examples, but these simple math equations can be used in pretty much any program for computer graphics. Whether that's Unreal Engine, Godot, Unity, Substance Designer, you name it honestly, I can't stress enough how ubiquitous these skills are. And a place you may be really familiar seeing it is in Photoshop Layers' blend modes. I'm sure a lot of you are used to scrolling through all of these options, just hoping for the best, but hopefully at the end of this video, you at least understand what options like multiply or subtract are actually doing under the hood now. In fact, I've brought in this half and half texture as another layer, and if I set its blend mode to multiply, it does exactly what it did in the Blender example I just showed you earlier. Sticking to Photoshop for a second, this is literally how masks work. Masks are just a bunch of white pixels, which as we know, multiply things by 1, and a bunch of black pixels, which multiply things by 0. And what happens when things are multiplied by 1? It stays the same. And what happens when things are multiplied by 0? It gets cut out. Game developers can also use these simple techniques to create those hit flash effects in games where the entire sprite flashes one color when something happens. I'm sure that when a lot of you hear that skills like computer graphics involve a lot of math, you quickly dismiss it as something that you can never learn. But hopefully I've shown that for a lot of the most important effects, the math behind them is actually quite simple. And when you understand those simple equations, the math actually becomes quite empowering. I don't know. I just wish someone had explained it to me this way when I was first starting out, so that's why I made this video. Let me know if that helped, or if you're just here waiting for me to make a video where I give Uncle Dane the Market Gardener. Either way, like, subscribe, that stuff. Listen, even with these equations, making a living off digital art is still plenty hard. Which is why I've started taking commissions through my Patreon, and I've created a plan that will allow me to guarantee a prosperous art career. So, I'm happy to give you a quick update on the JayTheDevGuy art commission bingo. The idea here is that if I can hit enough of these stereotypes for digital art commissions, I can speedrun a prosperous art career. Here's the update. The middle spot is Fursona, which is free, obviously. If you open commissions, you're gonna get Fursonas. So Ring Around Me got this whole thing started. Sylveon and Voxelfloof had Fursonas that were also Roblox and Minecraft skins, so I'll leave them here. Chow Horde and Cold Fischl definitely delivered with the obscure Nintendo characters. French Fry Addict covered Animal Crossing. Kyle sent me an OC with 40 pages of backstory. Coconut is here and Mega Pie Man were great object heads. Jade Harley has a Homestuck character buying Wonder Bread, which I'll leave here. And Jules has truly bingo maxed by commissioning this sinful square that contains weirdly specific pose, Homestuck, Muscular Lady, Rule 63, and My Little Pony, which I'm gonna put here because I think that's the funniest spot to quarantine them to. It looks like I've got a little ways to go. And I also appreciate everyone who commissioned things outside of the bingo. This is just a fun little bit for the Patreon. So seriously, thank you so much to all of them. But also, thank you for just watching. Hope you liked it. See you next time.